Hey everybody in YouTube land, we're here doing a conversion from a 112 6505 plus Peavey combo. As you can see, we cut the top of it off. What we're going to do is actually make it its own head. It's a fairly simple process and something that you can do at home with just a little bit of wood and a little bit of time. I think the first most important thing is where we decided to cut it, and that is exactly level with the top of the 112 cabinet that's built in on the inside. And the reason being is that when we put our board in on the bottom of the upper piece, it'll fit perfectly with everything that came factory with the amplifier because it's all already there. So the next stage of the process, you'll see us putting the bottom on and fitting the power amp and all the accessories back into the new headpiece. See you in a bit. So here we are with the cut bottom piece, and as you can see, I just took a piece of 3/4 inch plywood and I countersunk, or excuse me, drilled pilot holes, you know, so we didn't make any cracks in the existing board or the board we put on. And then I screwed this on to see our fit, and you can see it's nice and flush. Everything's looking good. And so all we got to do now is router the corners. And my buddy here has let me know that he doesn't want me to Tolex the bottom. We're just going to spray paint it black, which ought to look good since it's the bottom anyway. We're probably going to order some rubber feet, you know, and put those on. Also make sure that you drill those pilot holes. It's probably one of the most important parts of the process so you don't get cracks. And if you've never used a router before, practice on a board first before you start just trying to do it on here, because you can make some pretty bad boo-boos with a router. So we're going to router the edges, we're going to paint it, we're going to put the Peavey grill back in here that lights up, and get it all put back together and show you the finished product when we're done. See you in a bit. Alright, so as you can tell, we got the bottom on, and I routered all the edges and then sanded the corners to make them fit the factory edge, and then put the corners back on that were on the actual cabinet. And then I used the screws that held the inner grill on of the combo, and just ran those in. And again, make sure and drill your pilot holes so you don't get splits. But as you can see, before paint, this is looking pretty good. You can see all the edges, all the corners, almost looks like a factory piece. And so make sure, and you know, when you measure your screws and everything like that, they're the exact distance apart on both sides. You don't want it looking janky and stuff like that. So I'll probably do just a little bit of sanding to smooth this out to make the paint sit well, and we'll be back with you when this whole thing is put back together. See you in a bit. So here we are with the finished product of the 6505 combo, now turned into a head. 6505 plus, excuse me. Anyway, as you can see, I wanted to use the factory grill that had the light because the 100-watt heads don't have that. And I think that's one of the coolest features of the combo. It's something you can see from on stage, you know, it's really neat. And so basically what I did is I just took some really high-grade plywood without a bunch of knots and stuff like that, and I beveled the edges with a router and fit it perfectly with the head, and sanded the corners round to fit the factory curve of the stock amplifier for the corners. Put the corners back on right from the combo itself, and you can see from the back, all the pieces on the rear fit the same way that they would on the factory combo. So everything looks really clean. It looks like pretty much like a factory job. And so now you've got a 6505 plus head that's going to break up a lot sooner because it's 60 watts, so you don't have to run a ridiculous amount of volume. And in my opinion, has better tone. It just has a really warm feel compared to the real brash feel of the 100-watt head. So without further ado, let's crank this baby up, and you can check it out through a 412 cab. Big difference from the single 12. Plenty of bottom end, killer sound head. There you go, finished product. If you want me to build you one, post on my video and we'll talk about it. Have a good one.